The Oculus Touch package, which includes 2 controllers and an additional tracking camera, is a pricey addition to the Rift. But it's exactly what the Rift needs to retake its place as one of the most interesting and innovative VR headsets. Oculus has always paid great attention to the fit and finish of its hardware and software experience. It's a core part of the brand's DNA, and it's easy to draw comparisons between it and technology giants like Apple or Microsoft. Everything about the experience of owning a Rift feels intentional. That remains true for Touch. Needless to say, there's no hiding its odd-looking design, one that can arguably be described as Sony's DualShock controller, but cut right in half, down the middle in fact. Consisting of 2 controllers, both of which feature analog sticks, 3 buttons, and 2 trigger buttons. The latter 2 we feel are the most relevant because when you hold the controllers, your index and middle fingers line up and sit on top of them. This, of course, allows for some interesting articulation that we haven't seen before in a VR controller, effectively emulating the motion of our hands in the virtual world. The controllers themselves are ergonomically designed in an ingenious way as well to make it feel as though they naturally conform to our hands in a rested manner. It's hard to describe, mainly because they appear to be obtrusive to the eye from a cursory glance, but that's far from the case. Everything we need in a controller is at our disposal, which makes the Oculus Touch controller such an invaluable tool. The only downside to the design, in our opinion, however, is that they're powered individually by a single AA battery. Now, it would have been better to go with a rechargeable implementation, but Oculus assures us that the single battery will achieve up to 30 hours without the haptics enabled, or 20 hours with them on. Nothing compares to the design of the Oculus Touch. They're nearly perfect, significantly more appropriate than the competition right now in terms of how they feel and how they're used in virtual reality. At times even, it doesn't even feel like we're holding on to something with our hands, and that's how incredible the ergonomics are here with the controllers. In terms of the Oculus Touch's setup, it's a breeze because all that's necessary is to connect the tracking sensor to our PC, getting the controllers to connect and thus create our playing space. All told, the entire process takes no more than 15 minutes, so it's a no-brainer thing, unlike its rivals' setup processes. Come to think of it, that's the beauty of Oculus's system, just because it's a no-frills straightforward process. It's easy, but if you opted to go with the 3-sensor setup, you'll just need to place the sensor strategically, probably in a triangular formation, to ensure the most optimal tracking system. The Touch uses a more traditional joystick and buttons layout. For pure gaming, I found that the Touch's interface made the controllers a little bit more flexible, as it means you can generally use the controllers to play non-touch ready tiles. I managed to jump from the Robo Recall demo, which uses Touch, straight into Space Racer Firma without having to swap to a traditional Xbox controller, for example. The one issue that's yet to rear its head is battery life. Each unit is powered by 1 AA battery, and while I've clocked up 12 hours of use and not had to replace them, it's slightly annoying there's no option to charge over USB. If you want to juice them up, you'll have to replace the cells. I've also got to tip my hat to Oculus for getting early support for the Touch controllers. It's set to launch with 53 compatible games. Many titles, including VR Painter Medium and multiplayer shooter Dead and Buried, also come free of charge. During my week with the controllers, I got to sample around 20 or so of the titles. Initially, I was a little concerned about variety. Currently, it looks like a lot of developers haven't figured out how to use the Touch for anything other than first-person shooters, the majority of which are on rails or fixed positions, horde mode affairs. Some, such as first-person shooter The Unspoken, manage to mix things up by adding magic teleportation and a PvP focus to the mix. But there's a definite weighting towards shooters in the launch lineup. Every VR system is still, in some sense, a first-generation prototype. Oculus Touch doesn't change the fact that the Rift is a bulky mask with copious wiring, running on a type of computer few people own. But with Touch, the Rift feels like it's gone as far as its current technology can manage, and done so with aplomb. It's not the end goal of virtual reality, but it might well be the end of the beginning. It probably goes without saying at this point, but Oculus Touch is the missing link for the Rift. It enhances the experience in so many ways, so much so that it feels like we're finally using the Rift as it was meant to be played. From its tracking, ergonomics, and its ability to mimic certain hand functions, the Oculus Touch is unlike any VR controller out there.